Any luck?
No. We'll try that again.
Today's really been perfect. The universe has been batting 1,000 for things going wrong today. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Just like perfectly done.
Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Albie, let me just tell you. Sir, we have been slammed with stuff, and that's why, including taxes, all sorts of stuff, just whatever, just stuff. I'm sorry that we're so late. We're going to have to just, maybe abbreviate a little bit here. Yesterday was a good long one, which we're happy about, but the day got to us today.
Yeah,
Too
we
much
were
stuff.
doing lots of like stupid paperwork and forms and different things today. Nothing fun, believe me. Nothing fun or good. Although, you know what is fun and good is I have my Pluto shirt that I received for Christmas.
Oh, here we go.
It says, Pluto never forget.
Hold on, we get a picture. People are going to want to see this, Alice. This is important.
What's it say? 1930 to 2006.
Yeah. Tell the story of Pluto, Alice, in case there's any other total nerds that want to.
Well, Mark in the chat says, nice shirt, Alice. So there you go. I mean, Pluto, the only planet discovered in the United States, got demoted from being a planet by a, how do we decide we say the word, a cabal of international astronomers who like redefined what planet is 20 years ago.
I know.
Because they decided that, well, basically Pluto's sort of a part of this other kind of little asteroid belt thing that's out there. So basically what they found is that that it's, you know, maybe not the biggest and most important of the things in this little asteroid belt. So, and it's also, it's kind of hard to determine the size of stuff that's that far away. And Pluto's a little smaller than they initially thought because, you know, it's, well, basically because it's a little shinier than they initially thought. It's a little more light reflective. So their estimates of the size based on how bright it was were incorrect because it was more, it had a higher albedo. Is that what the word is? I forgot. But it's more light reflective than they thought it was. So
it's smaller than they thought it was. So they said this is not really planety. Does it revolve around something or have?
Yeah, it goes around. So, but the biggest thing that it doesn't meet is it doesn't clear its own orbital path. But that's a new definition. Like ancient people, when they were identifying planets, when they were like, "Oh, look at that thing up in the sky that moves, unlike not in a way different from the stars," you know, that must be a planet. They weren't like, oh, is it clearing its own orbital path? Like, does it have enough gravity to clear all the other stuff that's on the same path as it? And the answer about Pluto is no, but that was never part of the definition of planet until people decided that that should be a part of the definition of planet in 2006.
So was it named after the dog or was the dog named after it?
The dog was likely named after it, but they don't know for sure. Pluto is the Roman god of death, the Roman name for Hades. So it's the death god. But you know what's interesting is that William Shatner earlier this year has been on like a crusade to name it, to call it a planet again. Part of the reason being that at the same time as they demoted it from being a planet, they were also having a vote.
I like how you say demoted. Should go in the next coffee cup.
They also were having a vote to name one of Pluto's moons, and William Shatner wanted it to be named Vulcan.
Okay.
To go like with Vulcan from Star Trek, right? But they refused to name it Vulcan at the same time.
One of these nerds too good for that.
Well, because they wanted it to be something, I think they wanted to use like Kerberos and Styx because those like have more to do with the god of death in Greek and Roman mythology.
How about we take the naming rights away from the nerds? How about we do that?
I know. So, but it's actually quite controversial. in astronomy circles that that they took away Pluto's planet status because this was a small group of astronomers. This was not a matter of consensus in the astronomical world. And like a lot of people were upset about it. And it's also a kind of an anti-American move because this was like this astronomy body is like based in Europe. And this was the first planet that was discovered in the United States. It's been named like the official planet of the state of Arizona where it was discovered. There were a bunch of astronomers who were like looking for this. They were looking for this missing planet because there was some gravitational pull they were seeing that they couldn't explain. So they were looking for the missing planet X. And this, young guy who like built his own telescopes on his farm in Kansas out of magnifying glasses and lenses and mirrors and whatever. Like he found it when he was working. He joined this astronomy lab and found it. And it's really like, I think, an anti-American sentiment that got rid of Pluto. And Pluto really marked the beginning of us finding that whole little asteroid belt of stuff, the Kuiper belt. Is that what it's called? I don't know. So anyway, the whole thing is controversial. And William Shatner has been lobbying Trump to do an executive order to say, like, if you can name it the Gulf of America, we can rename it Pluto. And just
William Shatner is taking the correct course. I can tell you that.
So,
that is great. That is absolutely.
So that's been since earlier this year. So that's why I loved getting this Pluto Never Forget shirt. When I grew up, Pluto was a planet. The Euro nerds should have it taken away, the rights to decide if it's a planet or not. We get space, and you guys should shut up. Also on social media this week, there's been all this photography of Pluto.
Oh, is that what that is?
From this mission that went out there. Yeah, that's, it took 9 years to make it to Earth. It was going at like the speed of a phone's Bluetooth, basically sending all the data across space. It's really crazy. And so it's pretty neat. Like I think that America should embrace Pluto as something cool and space excellence as something that we should be great at. And we should push. Like, I'm happy they put Jared Isaacman back at NASA. I'm excited. Did you see they just hired this kid? Jared Isaacman was on Twitter, and this kid used AI to go through all this NASA data that's just like public and sitting there, and identified like a bunch more, like 1 million plus new celestial objects using the AI to sort through the data. And Jared Isaacman was like on Twitter, he's in high school. He's like, you're hired at NASA, basically. Like, so I think it's an awesome time. I think space is awesome. I think America should embrace the space race again, and we should win it. And I think that the first step should be Donald Trump doing an executive order to take back Pluto as a planet. From the anti-American jerks. Why is the camera falling?
Is it falling? Oh, sorry about that.
Do you have a lot of things to say about space? I didn't think
No,
you
I
were
have
a
none. I was
space
just
guy.
thinking to myself, that had this been our first date, I would have been absolutely terrified. Like, is there something I can say? What can I say? One time I was on Dan Ray's show on WBZ, and he was asking me. I wrote this column, just to, a machine gun of a column, just shooting a bunch of going after Democrats for laughing at the Supreme Court Justice had died. What's our guy, the Italian guy?
Scalia.
And they couldn't control themselves, all these Democrats in Massachusetts, so they were all like saying how gleeful they were when it happened. So I just wrote this column, just torched them all, just for being whatever.
Yeah.
And then I got in there, and Dan Ray's saying, "Oh, yeah, and you went after Schweinsteigen over here, and was he in the Plymouth Fourth? Wasn't he? Did he come up through the city council, or wasn't he part of it?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know." And so I just went along with some of the things Dan was saying. He's like, "Isn't O'Connell from the 6th district, but first came through?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I think so." I was so knew nothing because I was never an X's and O's district state politics guy. My job was to go be mean to everybody. That was my job. I didn't need it wasn't Howie here, so I immediately knew I didn't know anything. I think he could tell very quickly. But I still like being in WBZ. The first and only time I was ever in there. Oddly enough, not asked back. But yeah, no, this would have been horrifying if it was if it was on our first date. Although I gotta say, you have always been a Star Trek guy. You've always been a space guy. You were always a very strong Captain Kirk guy.
Yeah, I'm a captain.
Who's the original sexual masculist before this guy that you liked from last night, who was like his everything you want.
Johnny Rico.
Right, because
I showed the kids Starship Troopers last night.
Right,
Fantastic movie.
Right, and which is also just a great movie. But Kirk is great because all they've done is taken a cowboy and put him as captain.
Right.
Which is fantastic.
Well, and then essentially in Next Generation, they kind of took the Kirk character and, like the planet Pluto, demoted him to be Riker. Is that the character in Next Generation?
Yeah, but they softened Riker up too. After the first 10 seconds, Riker was like even Worf was a pussy in the Next Generation. I got into it somewhat. But
and then they had like the thinker character be the captain in Next Generation, which was like annoying.
Well, right, and who would sit around reading poetry and ride his horse, like, whatever. Yeah, the Picard days weren't good, but I appreciated Kirk because why wouldn't you? He was a good-looking guy. He was over the top. He was violent, and he slept with every planet animal that he could find.
Yeah, Shatner's a national treasure, and
I agree. I don't know if is he an American technically yet?
Is he a Canadian still technically?
But I always did like that about you, and that you like that stuff, and I am for it. If they want, it seems like a perfect layup. Trump would be very, very interested in doing
sticking it to an international scientific body by saying they don't get to name Pluto tell us what Pluto is. So
yeah. No, it's not going to be called Pluto anymore, by the way. It will get its accreditation back, but it will be called Trump. There's no...
But it could probably have a moon called Vulcan.
Sure. Absolutely. There's no... Dude, Trump does believe that Spock was a Vulcan, that Leonard Nimoy was a Vulcan. There's no doubt about that. It's just easier that way. Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm all for that. I do want to mention one thing. I was listening to... today, this podcast from Maine Public Radio. Mm-hmm. And it included the Maine Public Radio news person and somebody from the Portland Press Herald. And because all the Somalia stuff is happening, there's so much stuff that's boiling over. It's funny. It's like the Maine Wire has found hit oil, but they can't refine enough. They need the machine. They need the derricks, and they need all the structure. There's so much stuff happening. So I just wanted to see like what would happen. The Maine Public Radio gets together with the Portland Press or the Bangor Daily News and a couple of college students and another immediate professor. And the conversation went exactly as I thought it would. Exactly. The main theme was this. They're saying, how is media changing? And I love this array of progressives who think exactly the same, talking about what's happening. And their main takeaway was that unfortunately, there's way too many news sources out there. So people are listening to things that they want to hear rather than the truth, good old-fashioned news. People are going and finding their own sources of things they want to hear. And so that's why things are dangerous now. And it used to be that there would be several vetted corporate news stations in NPR and in the voices of these people in academia, like the person was on, and from there they would exchange ideas. This group, guy even said that it used to be that if you wanted to hear an array of ideas, you'd go to a paper like the Portland Press Herald and you'd read the op-ed pages, and there you'd see different opinions. Never once, of course, never anybody ever thinking that those opinions would include conservatives at all.
Ever.
Because why would they? Like these people who listen to public radio, they don't ever listen to public radio and then a little bit of Daily Wire. It doesn't happen like that.
No, their so-called Overton window of acceptable views that you can have like different op-eds are things like, you know, Charlie Baker thinks that we should like have a few more charter schools.
Yep.
Yes or no? And like, of course, the right opinion is no, we shouldn't have more charter schools because it hurts the teachers' unions. But you're willing to like listen to an argument why maybe some people might want a few more charter schools. That's as like edgy and daring as the opinions get.
Well, right. And also, let's go by Massachusetts here. And this might be a little non-exclusive for some people, or a little exclusive. But they look at like the Jim and Marjorie show. And Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. And they think that between Jim and Marjorie, everything's covered.
Yeah, they've got a range of views.
Yeah, they can have, it's true, you can bring one of those state Republicans in maybe to talk to him. But no, the moral high ground is already established by the host. So you don't, we needn't have this argument. And I think it's very interesting that the idea that you'd be somebody who would say you need a lot less information coming out. Now, I also looked at saying we need a lot less information coming out. The traditional media, it was better than people are going to see what they like now. And never looking like this Maine public, I looked it up, and in Lewiston, Maine, there was a shooting a couple of years ago, and there was a big fundraiser fund for the victims so that they could, pay for medical bills. This fundraiser's money has been diverted. A lot of it has been diverted to things like Somali NGOs. So, and all sorts of the things that you're hearing about right now. Shell companies to rip off the American taxpayer,
right,
and all sorts of other things. And the main public never reported on that. They reported about all the fundraising that happened and the good money that went out. They
probably promoted those fundraiser links. Because that's a big issue in journalism right now, is if you do some kind of local interest story about something happening, should you be putting the links to some rando's GoFundMe in your news story? Because then isn't it like you're kind of promoting it? And like there's a range of how controversial that can get. But there have been cases where local news stories have promoted literal scams.
Oh, God,
where
Alice,
people are literally just scamming or telling a false news story about how they can't buy new presents for their children for Christmas or something. And like the local news is promoting, giving money to a scammer.
Of course they are. Of course they are. And especially during the holidays, all this stuff, scrutiny about toys, etc. All these things are all scam groups that are out there. But it's an easy press release to work off of, and they're having a demonstration for it. But I just thought this was interesting. These media people, they came to the conclusion that, so the host said, okay, to the professor, of course, what is the problem? Is the problem now because people are getting bad information? Because obviously, if you had good information, you wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. If you had good information, you wouldn't be anti-abortion. If you had good information, you wouldn't be going after Somalis.
Yeah, well, isn't that what Obama said about us? Is it you're basically decent people? You've just been listening to the wrong talk radio show.
So, like, there's no room for, like, could we be? No, they're out. But so they asked this professor, why do you think now that people don't trust the media? All this polling says the traditional media is not trusted at all. And he said, you know why? Because for 55 years, the right has been hammering us and hammering us and hammering us as fake news. For 55 years, just saying that we're liars and there's media bias. And how are we supposed to stand up to that? Like there's nobody in the room at all thought that maybe we should take the conversation a tiny layer deeper and say, why would they hammer you? Like, what does it make that makes them think that you're liars? Is it the constant lying? Is it how you covered the 2000 election? Is it how you, Peter Jennings said, the Florida fell to Bush? Is it the fake thing that they did with the National Guard stuff with Bush? Could it be the complicity with the COVID liars that happened? Or all the George Floyd BS and stuff that they absolutely just looked away from? It's like, in like our institutions, we don't know. They've been criticizing us. Yeah, Rush Limbaugh only existed because you guys were vile and biased for years. And Limbaugh just said to people, hey, listen to this. I'm going to show you what's really happening in this clip. And he made a career out of it. And he also educated Americans to say, just because this guy on my TV is handsome and wears a good suit and is telling me to hug my children a little harder tonight, maybe he doesn't know anything. And they don't know anything. And it's just, it's amazing. These people, we talked about it before we got on tonight, They're not in the news business. They're not. They're in the cover and discuss things that make them feel better, more clean, more intelligent, more cosmopolitan than who the people they consider lessers, which are people who drive pickup trucks and work with their hands for a living. And they look at them, the people who work for a living, and they say, if those people if they just listen to NPR where we don't raise our voices, then they could be better like us. They could have things like us and do things the way we do it. Oh, look at those people. They have a New England Patriots flag in their Oh my goodness. Look at those people who wake up and go to football games on Thanksgiving against rival towns. It's so trashy. They should be like, first of all, we need to take their football names from them. They don't even know why they like it. They don't know how racist because they look at you and say, those people are either bad and just deeply ingrained racists, or we should at least, because we're good people, we should at least try to help change them. And so they write up these condescending editorials, and they have these condescending pieces about, like we talked about 2 years ago, Hispanics, young people are worried about their fathers having listening to the wrong talk radio. I'm saying, my dad started listening to Rush Limbaugh 8 years ago, and now he's a Hispanic man thinking of voting for Donald Trump. And it never got any further than maybe Rush said something. Maybe they were saying...
Maybe there was a point worth us addressing it or discussing it here. No.
Right. In all the lines that they did during COVID and things, now it's just, it was a confusing time. Well, okay. Why didn't you just say it was a confusing time when it was a confusing time? Why did you tell us without, any failing, without any middle gray area, that we must comply, that saying certain things was going to kill multitudes of people? It's like, you people are vile, just absolute vile wretches. Anyway, it was a good, I believe in future endeavors, Alice, I will be interacting with people like that. And I look forward to it.
That's exciting. But yeah, you see this in the way that they've even gone after this guy, this YouTuber who's been covering the daycare centers. Well, first of all, we've gotten a bunch of lectures from the mainstream press about how they've definitely all been covering the Somali fraud in Minnesota, which is...
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
I implore anybody, if you want to see this roller coaster ride in real time, read Sue O'Connell's Twitter, what do you call it, feed. Mm-hmm. It has gone from, wait, what? Yeah, after she comes back from Christmas, yeah, we've been covering it absolutely, to, oh, wait, no, the kid's a liar. No, there's nothing there. To all the retweets of, like, the fraud.
Yeah, it's both not happening at all. And they've all been covering it all along.
Yes.
So let's disambiguate a couple things.
Ooh, nice.
A couple weeks ago, there was some discussion about this prosecution of Somali fraud in Minnesota that happened over the last few years. We talked about it. This is the one that was in the New York Times. The prosecution was started under the Biden administration. And this was the one that the Minnesota, Star Tribune was putting out, was saying, like, Trump's lying about how much it is. It's nowhere close to $1 billion. That's ridiculous. Blah, blah, blah. This is the one where it was like 87 people were charged, but and like 80 of them were Somali. So this is that fraud, that like limited amount of fraud that was there. That was because there was an ongoing criminal investigation that was a fraud that was so blatant that the Biden administration was investigating it. This was the Feeding Our Future scandal. Yes, the media did report on that because it was happening and there was like already a criminal investigation. Did the media dig any deeper and see if there were any other scammy looking, fraudulent looking things happening in the public databases that were easy to look up in public records and see if maybe there were other spots where they could look and see if there was anything going on that hasn't been prosecuted yet? No, of course not. That's what this kid did, and that's what they're mad about, right? They aren't talking about and did not report about the fact that the Trump administration has come out and said that like half of the $18 billion in Medicaid funding that went to Minnesota is fraud. They haven't talked about that. They haven't. They've reported on the fact that like the Trump administration said it, but they're not going out here and like finding cases of things that could be fraud. That's real reporting.
Well, right.
Real reporting is when you report on something that causes there to be an investigation, not when you just, once the investigation's already happening because it was so blatant and so shameless and so obvious that like even the Democrats couldn't pretend it wasn't happening. Right. That's the ones that they've investigated so far. But you know, they're going to actually go after them. They already have Kristi Noem digging in here. They have everybody looking like that. They're going to start going after real fraud, and this is going to become more undeniable. And they're going to claim that they've been reporting on it the whole time, but they're just reporting on what's, you know, being fed to them by the government. They're not doing any investigative reporting on this.
Well, right. And people have said, somebody, I see all these bitchy media types online saying, this kid did nothing special. He found out the reporting and he just walked around and knocked on doors. It's like, yeah, he did. He put it all together and it's better than anything you've done. Like, you could do it too. As a matter of fact, Sue O'Connell could tonight or tomorrow morning go around and knock on doors just to make sure it's not happening here.
Yeah, no, you can, in Massachusetts, there are also public records of this stuff, and people do these things, like Jess Machado does this stuff in Massachusetts. You have the Maine Wire doing stuff like this in Maine. There are people who go out there and look through public records and watch public meetings and report on this stuff, but a lot of local news has been so hollowed out that a lot of it, like, unless somebody does that, they're not going to do it, and certainly these, like, TV news stations don't.
Well, yeah, which is why people like places like the Maine Wire and this kid are so inconvenient for these people because they're just simply breaking all the news. It's hanging right there. Right. Anybody could say they're just simply going and doing it, and it's just amazing. I saw this thing with Robinson up in this health inspector, ag lady, agriculture secretary of agriculture in Maine. Her ex-husband, who worked under her, was busted buying illegal drugs using his government computer. He is now married to the district attorney. And Steve talked to her and said, oh, by the way, like this guy, Steve Smith, whatever. He said, have you heard of him? He used government computers. And she said, what's his name? He said, Steve Smith. She said, I can't talk about, it's our ex-husband. Married to they are so flat-footed here that there's simply, it reminds me of our Starship Troopers. There's just not enough Marines to go blow all the bugs away. There aren't. There's too many. I've talked to people on the ground near this stuff, and there's not enough local law enforcement. This has to be a huge federal situation. It needs to be. And I hope Kash Patel can do something, and Bondi and all these other people. Because Bondi
has been kind of put on notice, but Trump's been truthing about her.
Oh, has he?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, can some of their guys ever be in handcuffs at all? I know the courts are going to work against us the whole way so that wife beaters can, do Christmas TikToks. But we need to relentlessly do this. Go after these people. I know you consider it racist, but...
Well, yeah, so that's the other part. So... Not only, according to them, have they been reporting on this situation the entire time, but the fact that he went and did this also makes him a white supremacist. They're calling him a white supremacist, which is funny because then on the other side of the aisle, and I'm like embarrassed to even say this because some of the people on our side of the aisle are also idiots. Some of the people who've decided that they're the true America firsters have decided that he's going after Muslims because he's an Israel firster.
Oh, I see.
Because he's Jewish, apparently.
How does everybody know who's Jewish?
I don't know. I don't get the memo.
Is Shirley a Jewish name? I must have missed this whole thing.
I don't know, but yeah. So some of these like more, whatever, anti-Israel, anti-Zionist, quote unquote, social media people have been saying that he's like an Israel firster who's trying to discredit Muslim immigrants to the United States or whatever, when like Muslims are the true like bearers of conservative values or whatever, which like, you know, I'm happy to ally with the Muslim parents when it comes to the like gay books in schools and whatever things we align on, but I'm not for scamming the taxpayer. So I don't really like see how that's a Jewish or a Muslim question. I'm against stealing. So that's I don't know. I'm going to depart from the anti-Zionist crowd on that one. On lots of things, actually. In other news, Chapel Rowan, I don't know how to say her name. That singer, Pink Pony Club.
Yeah.
I'ma keep on dancing. Right. She shared a post about Brigitte Bardot, and then learned that she had more work to do to educate herself about how bad Brigitte Bardot's opinions were. So she initially tweeted out, "She was my inspiration for Red Wine Supernova. Rest in peace, Miss Bardot." And then she had to follow that up with an apology. "Holy shit, I did not know all that insane shit Ms. Bardot stood for. Obs, I do not condone this. Very disappointing to learn."
Oh. I would say one more thing here before we go to the chat, just as a person who has been in media and around people.
Mm-hmm.
This thing where people are showing their baseball Hall of Fame picks, where baseball writers are showing their Hall of Fame picks, where it's the paper and it has a name sign and it shows who they want to go in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
There's nothing more self-important than an effing baseball writer in showing the solemn burden of having to make the tough decision of who to send on to the Hall. Oh, puke. What a bunch of sycophantic, self-important babies. Oh, God. All of them. Other than Jerry, I would say. I don't think Callahan he's not that kind of guy. But Buckley and the other guy who's still Rob Bradford, who was a funny guy at one time. But Sean McAdam. Oh, give me fuck off. Oh, there's nothing more disgusting.
Before we go to the chat quickly, the one other thing I wanted to cover was it's been great watching the Twitter debate between like the All In podcast guys and Paul Marlucki, who, if you don't know, is like one of the founders of Anduril, which is like the defense tech Silicon Valley company. Yeah. The drones that are like we're using against Russia, Ukrainians are using to kill Russians right now, all that stuff. They've been going back and forth with Ro Khanna in California.
Right.
Because he's been advocating for this wealth tax that they're trying to do in California. It's like a billionaire's tax, but this isn't on income. It's on wealth.
Yes.
So, and including like unrealized gains. So it's a one-time 5% wealth tax that's billed over 5 years. So it's like they're assessing your wealth at this point in time, and then 1% of that number each of the next 5 years to like fund all the crap they want to do in California.
For the crime of just being.
For just being.
Yep.
And they've been going back and forth on Twitter with Ro Khanna about this because obviously this is hugely detrimental to the types of industries that are in California, like in Silicon Valley, where your wealth is sometimes in like a startup valuation that's many, many times the amount of cash that you actually have on hand. So now what? You're going to have to be selling a big chunk of your company that you started to cash out of it so that you can pay a tax that's more money than you have earned. Like, it's crazy. It's nuts. It's so toxic, so divisive, and
the best thing that Ron DeSantis could ever hear.
It's great watching them. I haven't listened to the All In episode where they're talking about this yet, but they're watching them go after him on Twitter, like personally go after him and about his wealth and his wife's wealth and his hypocrisy on this issue is really great.
He's positioned in the media as like the the sensible, centrist, reach across the aisle Democrat. The Sunday shows love him, and he loves them.
I don't know why though, because isn't he like a progressive caucus kind of guy? Like, isn't he like sort of an AOC character?
Not quite, I don't think. But he's conciliatory in certain ways, the way he carries himself, and buddies up with certain moderate Republicans to work on initiatives together. And he's very reasonable on. He's taking the Sunday show route, and he's running for president, or wants to.
Well, yeah, they all are. I mean, I think he wants that like Bernie populist left mantle, right?
Yeah, he's better. He's softer on the edges than Bernie.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's kind of probably AOC's to lose, don't you?
God, I hope so. I mean, who knows?
But yeah, like it is.
The problem.
It is interesting because these places like New York too and California, they are veering towards the straight up, like asset seizures of the rich, which is, I don't know, like that's a fascinating route to take.
It's been tried before.
But, yeah, I guess we'll see. But those people are just going to leave these states.
Yes.
They're going to take their industries and go away.
Yes.
Which is embarrassing because these are some of like the best places in the country, frankly.
Totally agree. How did you manage to screw up California? Can you imagine that?
I know. It's like one of the best places on planet Earth, and you've screwed up. You're going to take New York City and ruin it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Massachusetts, too.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm a New England patriot, obviously, but I mean, New York is kind of a special city, don't you think?
Yes, I do.
Like, to wreck that takes some doing.
You're awfully chatty for somebody who's been up for 36 hours and will have to be up for another 8 hours. And we just got done doing 3 hours of line item tax talk before this. Can we go?
Yes, we can go.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Billy from Manchester.
Hey, Billy.
It's Alice Wu defending the daycares by saying that there's a potential. She's not really sure if the story's true because
Correct.
certain daycares are closed and there legitimately could not be 72 kids missing, even though they are, or 101 kids missing because everyone's on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Every person in Minneapolis at these daycares, these Somalian-run, laundering facilities are on vacation. Unbelievable. Tom, I don't know. You got to get out. 37 seconds.
I'm trying, Billy. I can't afford to get out.
I just am saying that more work needs to be done to prove that it's actually a scam. You can't just show up there a day after Christmas and be like,
wow,
no one's here. This is obviously
you are Alice
fake.
Wu. Alice O'Connell. Wow. Commentator.
Tom, I think you're being a little harsh on Mayor Wu.
Yes.
I mean, we all remember back in grade school learning about Lewis and Clark and their interpreter and Pathfinder, Somali Jawia. If it wasn't for her, there wouldn't be a United States. So just cut them a little slack.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Who was it? It was Sacagawea? Was she the one?
Sacagawea. Now they want us to say Sacagawea.
Oh, shut up. Oh! Oh. That was not a... By the way, our native brethren, we're not all that hospitable to Lewis and Clark along the way, if you want to read about that. Very interesting. All right.
Well, and actually the Sacagawea discussion is a debate between like two different native tribes about which one she belonged to and therefore what her name should be pronounced like, because we don't actually know for sure.
How do I say this?
All we have is like Lewis and Clark's like transliteration of her name, and like we're not sure how they pronounced it.
Our son goes to this summer camp, and they have, it's a great camp, and they do this thing where they have a twist. Come on, baby, let's do the twist. Mm-hmm. And you have to do the best twist. And, it gets exhausting. So some people start to lose, break down, whatever. It's guys and girls. And they start taking people out and saying, oh, no, sorry, you're done, you're done, you're done, you're done. And then there's like...
You're tagging me out?
No, there's like 6 left. Okay. And like the winners are really working on it, trying to stay in and keeping form up. And like those people are like interesting. It's only when it comes to like the rise of the United States of America that the people who all got disqualified early on are the most interesting. We'd like to hear from, your you know what? Your name for chief is sacred. What? Why? I'm sure the Nick Monks were fantastic, but I know it's racist to say this, even though I have no idea what race any of these people are. They tapped out along the way. Okay, not everybody, but a lot. The Iroquois Confederacy is no more. Now, I know that's because we cheated, because we brought cheating to the New World. Mm-hmm. But just stop. Enough.
Alice, you're 100% correct. People like Nick Shirley are pivotal to keeping local governments in check because local newspapers have died off greatly. We only have the Patch now, right? Mm-hmm. And some of those writers are former local journalists who may not even leave their home to do certain stories. But without people like Nick, city council meetings and those health department meetings where they pass generational tobacco bans mm-hmm. and things like that, those will just happen. There'll be no accountability because no one in the public will ever know about it until it's already past the point where they've taken a vote. So it's the best thing.
Yeah. And not just make votes, but like say outrageous things in some of these meetings. And some of them are like recorded and they just say this stuff. They think no one's going to watch it and they're like totally accountable. There was in Wakefield a case where a bunch of people, I don't think, I don't know, Mark and John, jump in the chat if I get the details of this wrong, but I think it was the Human Rights Commission, and they got somewhat in trouble because they were having their Human Rights Commission meeting on Zoom or wherever, and they spent time joking about one of the members of the select board who's a gay man killing himself.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because which was outrageous, and they did it on a recorded Zoom meeting because they didn't care and they didn't think anyone would watch.
Ghouls.
It's like weird, sick stuff. And like if nobody watched that meeting, nobody would know that because they assume nobody's going to because no one cares what they do.
Well, and that's the whole thing. It's the same thing. Like I would watch more of these in Connecticut, where they would take such umbrage at the public for noticing, and public comments for noticing what the schools had been doing,
right?
And they'd lecture them and browbeat them and castigate them for you know how hard we work and these teachers work, and he's like, oh, I see. So our kids, this is your fiefdom. You do whatever you want, and you can't stand it if we come here for a second to talk to you. It's freaking gross. By the way, isn't Wakefield called Lakefield? It's just a lake, right? And a great downtown. It's a great town, actually.
It is a great town.
Hey, Tom and Alice, John and Greenwood here.
Hey, John.
Hey, Alice, now that I know what MOG means, I've been trying to use it so that people, know how smart I am, etc. And so I thought I would at least check its meaning, with my Gen Z connection. So I asked Christoph, and it totally checks out what you said about, besting someone, especially by looks, etc. But he calls cap on the mean of group genesis of it. And he had never heard of that, doesn't really know what it's from, but he doesn't think it's that. So I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. But
I hadn't heard that either until I looked it up because of that. But that's like the only place I heard that is in the last few days. I had heard people use the word MOG, but that explanation of the etymology I learned this weekend as a part of my deep dive into clavicular.
No, you deep dive into your Luigi guy who you think is gorgeous.
No.
By the way, I've actually
I was playing you the chunk from the Michael Knowles show where he was talking about Sydney Sweeney's underdeveloped upper maxilla and her, her orbital.
Yeah, and I thought that was
support.
interesting. Did you send that to us?
Yeah, I did. It's somewhere there. But yeah, it is a weird hobby to be like so into facial science.
It's, you know what makes me realize it's not a weird hobby, and I'm gonna if I can. Oh, here we go. Here's Michael Knowles talking to this dude.
Don't get branded.
Well, what are we talking about by
social media? Don't get a lot of likes, and certainly don't get branded.
Well, what are we talking about by hot? Like good looking? Like some people think that like Sydney Sweeney is extremely attractive.
I would say, I don't want to scandalize anybody, a married man. I would say Sydney Sweeney is very attractive.
I would say that she's pretty malformed. Her upper maxilla is extremely recessed, right? She's got the eyes of doom with no infraorbital support. She's really not that much of a looker in her face. I think that a lot of people with brains find her attractive because of her body.
I don't have porn. I don't know. Well, you're telling me that that if a guy finds Sydney Sweeney attractive, he's got to have brain?
I think that she's above
After they have to beep out porn.
Yeah,
average in looks,
they can't
but
say
certainly
porn
not
brain.
that like,
No, you said she's got a sunken suborbital. I forget the words that you said.
Yeah, she's got a recessed infraorbitals and a recessed upper maxilla.
You're telling me you go to a bar.
I'm just saying she's not the pinnacle of looks that I'm talking about to actually succeed on social media. She's average to above average.
So part of this, I agree with him that she's not the pinnacle, but she's very lovely. In her whole presentation is lovely, sexy as hell, and most guys, at least in the old days, most guys would see her or would enjoy her company physically to be around her and would be drawn to wanting to be.
They wouldn't be assessing her lack of intraorbital.
No, they would be saying, "I'm
support.
getting horny right now." Is what they'd be saying because this blonde. So if that doesn't
her
activate,
recessed upper maxilla.
if that doesn't activate something in a young man, well, that's fine. That young man is a homosexual, which is also fine. That's fine. It's fine. But I would also say this, and I have no problem with this kid's shtick with like maxilla and orbital, whatever. And that's his thing. Like he's going to be like this badass.
He advocates people take meth to get their cheeks to look more sunken.
Okay, I know interested in you. I know you have a crush on meth. You make that very clear.
I don't.
But here's my only thing about it. I didn't realize until today when I looked into him a little bit more. This dude's 20.
Yeah.
You're 20. If you're 20, you have no flaws. And even me at 20, I would look at myself like in the mirror in the car, and then look at my dad and say, like, why would my dad have bags under his eyes and like a half of a drooping chin jowl or like white stubble? Like, why would he choose to do that? I was a blonde young man, looked good. It's like,
How was your orbital support?
Whatever. It was like, but it's only something that somebody that 20 would think that somehow that this is what they look like physically and what they can do physically is some kind of moral achievement. Look, see? You've done nothing for this. I mean, this guy has done something. I don't consider him good looking. I think he looks like the kid from Wonder Years. But, like...
He looked worse before he got a bunch of surgery on his face.
Well, that's fine. But here's the thing. The stuff is collapsing. It's going to start not this year, maybe not next year, but in a couple of years. And the forehead starts to recede a little bit, and the other stuff happens, and stuff just keeps happening. And you can be a perfectionist based on just being shot out into the marketplace at 20 years old. Good luck. Good luck. Because you will be betrayed by yourself very quickly. It just is a matter of fact. And also, if you want to do anything gratifying at all, then there will be a price to pay. Physically and emotionally and all. Whatever. It doesn't matter. He's not a real person. So.
On social
Sorry,
media,
I know you
have a crush on him, so I apologize.
I don't have a crush on him. Not interested.
Oh, that is such BS. All right, here you go. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. What else?
Thanks so much for listening, guys. Thanks for the chat messages. We will see you tomorrow. If you want to join us for the live chat, you can do that at
Mind your own damn business.
You can also find all Tom's shows there ad-free. You can. What else can you do there?
Can you
there's
mind
some
having
extra
to be
content
the
each week.
all the media, and like when he said this,
Mind your own damn business.
having to like read the copy saying, and Tim Walz was very forceful about people asking questions about trans LGBTQIA, and playing that and having to say, mind your own damn business. And everything, you see, it was forceful, right? Right, team? Holy frig.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you like listening for free, burnbarrelpodcast.com.
C'est la vie.